Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies that we started late. I mean, our meeting ran a bit over time, but thank you all for being here. Let me just introduce our panel here. Starting from my side, we've got MEC from the Eastern Cape. Next to him is MEC Mpumalanga, Minister Zogwana, Minister Nkwinti, the MEC from Limpopo, MEC from Free State, and the MEC from KZN. I will now hand over to Minister Zogwana to give us feedback and just take us through his statement on today's meeting. After which we will give those MECs who are here present to give you the detail and report on their provincial performance or drought intervention programs. Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thanks. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the media. Today we met with the MECs responsible for agriculture to take stock of the current drought, to discuss the ongoing drought relief support we are providing to affected farmers and livestock owners, engage on plans and solutions we can employ from now on. From the meeting, we now have a clear picture of the negative impact of drought on crop production, livestock, agro-processing, agriculture infrastructure, and food security in all affected provinces. Planned sectorial achievements on priority areas like outcomes 4, 7, and 10 will not be accomplished as planned because food and feed grain prices will surge, debt levels, and job losses. Government departments, municipalities, and entities are working together to provide livestock feed, deliver rainwater tanks, cut water to farmers and livestock owners to help their livestock during the time of scarcity of grazing grass and water for hydration. MECs from affected provinces and the Rural Development and Land Reform Minister Gugile Nkwinti will provide specific detail on the quantities delivered to farmers and livestock owners to support them. Food security will be heavily affected by drought because we will not harvest the yield we expected owing to the current drought. In some places, no planting was done, while some will have very low yields. With regards to the financial support, the Industrial Development Corporation has made available soft loans as emergency funding towards working capital, infrastructure, and small portion for carryover debt for the commercial sector. The IDC will consider financial assistance to existing clients that apply for drought relief support, while the non-IDC clients lending will not be made available directly to the end beneficiary, but rather through National Credit Act compliant intermediaries like the Land Bank and Agribusiness. 32 million rand has already been approved. The loan agreement will thus be entered into between IDC and the relevant intermediary. Those intermediaries will have to apply to IDC on a case-by-case basis, and the due diligence will be applicable. In relation to the directive we gave to provinces to use 20% of the Litsema grant, which was not going to be used because of the drought, provinces have provided and received approval are KZN, Free State, Northwest, Limpopo, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Northern Cape. Eastern Cape applied this week, and the Western Cape has not yet reprioritized. We are happy that the money is used to provide relief to the farmers. Our priority is on developing and implementing climate change adaptation plan and programs for the sector. We will give more support to climate smart agriculture in terms of conservation agriculture, increased investment on land rehabilitation programs for improved productivity of land and water storage capacity, investment in storage and transport infrastructure in the Eastern Cape, and introduction of market-linked agri-insurance for disasters are some of the major investment we are doing as government, working with the farmers. Of critical importance to us is that we must invest on feed production and set up fodder banks in all areas affected by drought to counter the ballooning livestock food prices. Areas that are not experiencing drought and irrigation schemes will be prioritized in this investment. As government, we will continue to beef up collaboration by strengthening coordination arrangements between government and industry to monitor the drought. In this area, I want to emphasize that the Department of COGTA has to coordinate all the DGs to make sure that all support program goes through them. It is an area that we have not been strong on, and I'm sure, having met today going forward, we'll ensure that at ministerial level, by the way, we have emphasized this matter. We will establish and maintain national information management system and ensure information flow from provinces. It's important that we strengthen strategies and actions for recovery and long-term risk reduction. We noted that the weather patterns are slowly changing with sporadic rainfall in some of the affected provinces, which give us relief. Thank you.
I will now hand over to MEC from Limpopo to just take us through her provincial report.
What's his name? Put on your mic. Well, this might be really interesting, but you don't have any respect.
Yeah. Million. Out of the 51 million, 20 million was for fodder purchasing, and the 21 million was for water provision. Limpopo is having 5 districts, which is Waterberg, Sikukune, Mopani, Vembe, and Capricorn. All the districts are equally hit by this drought. We have currently received about 31,000 applicants for fodder. We have supplied 7,000 subsistence farmers have benefited from the program. The progress is a bit slow since the fact that the factories were closed during December, but it has started to pick up for the last week. We have also taken a decision as a department that we have to do road shows to visit all these districts to show that there's equally distribution of this fodder. We are a bit slow in terms of drilling of boreholes. For now, we can only report as a province that it's only in Vembe where we are making progress. But we are also supplying JoJo tanks to other areas. For the accessibility of these services, We have also created 76 depots that needs to be closer to our people. And we still continue to encourage our farmers who are in distress to apply. All the forms for the applications are at all our agricultural offices and also at all our traditional leaders' houses. So they can access them there to make application. For now, I think we are having a mortality rate of our livestock, which we can report to an amount of plus minus 5,000, but it's quite sometimes that we are at that level, meaning that the progress that we are making is that we are resuscitating our livestock, and the mortality, hopefully it will be trapped at that level. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. I think for the benefit of time, can we just each take 3 minutes to go through our provincial reports? Thank you very much. Minister, MEC Koboshian.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Program Director, and good afternoon to members of the media. I think just to walk you through quickly the issues of cropping in the province of the Eastern Cape. As you can see that we have planted 15,168 hectares of land, representing 35.7 against the target of 42,000 that we have planned for the year. We have procured production inputs to be used in the next season, and farmer contribution was also used for mechanization. And when it comes to livestock, the situation is also becoming much more precarious, and vulnerable animals standing at 1.3 million when it comes to cattle, and 3 million when it comes to sheep, and 969,000 goats. And since October 2015, a total of 3,731 cattle and 5,598 sheep with 3,056 goats died due to worsening conditions of pastures, as animals could not graze and had no access to water. And land under cropping production dropped from 298,000 hectares to approximately 1,000 hectares, reducing agriculture output and slashing employment while exposing more people to food insecurity. I can just summarize the drought relief interventions that we have managed to do in the slide, if you do have the presentation, providing of block of mineral leaks to animals, and 5,600,000 liters of water carted to farmers currently, and also delivering rain harvesting water tanks and 780 tons of feed, lucerne and hay all together. Towards conclusion, Program Director, how to mitigate and what kind of solutions we have decided to put together, working with other departments facilitated under COCTA. Facilitate fodder production is what we think is going to work for the province as fodder bank in areas identified where it is possible to grow more and massify the work that we are doing. Also working with the Land Reform Department, the fire belts or fire breaks. Farmers are encouraged to prepare fire belts as a way of protecting the scarce fodder in the farms, and together with the department with an amount of 3 million that have been availed to appoint service providers to do fire belts, working with the farmers in those areas. Also targeting the infrastructure like boreholes as well as windmills. And in drought-affected areas, boreholes went to a state of disrepair and could not deliver water. And we have managed to quantify the number of what we have to attend. And I think working with the district municipalities, which are Water Services Authority, that is a matter that we are now attending. The last thing and the parting shot is to appeal to service providers not to use this opportunity and season as a season of making money. This is an intervention to salvage the situation that is becoming much more serious in the country. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you, MEC. I think I'll reduce that to 2 minutes. MEC Free State. Thank you.
As Free State, we have allocated more than 35 million, 39 million for a drought relief, and what we did up to now, we have been able to assist more than 2,900 subsistence and smallholder farmers with more than 37,000 bags of protein-based pellets and fodder. And amongst those are, 25 white commercial farmers in the district of Kopis, Edenville, and Parys. We have also appointed 4 service providers to drill and develop about 132 boreholes. And the money that we have allocated, it's mainly to ensure that we provide a feed, we provide access to water for farmers, and also we provide medicine for farmers, because we know that when you have drought, you also have emergence of diseases. So as part of trying to mitigate the drought, we have tried to put that money to ensure that we deal specifically with those issues. Thank you.
From KZN, I have really nothing to add to the presentations made by the colleagues from the provinces, because we are all basically intervening as coordinated by the 2 ministers, Minister Zokwana and Minister Nkwinti, to whom we are grateful for actually leading this campaign. And the drought is still with us, and we do get some showers, but they have not reached the levels that we can then start to, be hopeful that, the situation will be any better soon. And given that we are soon moving into winter, and if we don't get sufficient rains between now and March, the situation will appear much worse, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, which started experiencing drought much earlier than other provinces. So we are really grateful to the media for reporting on the state of affairs, and also giving us a platform to inform people on the plans that the government has adopted as measures to give them some drought relief. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MEC. MEC Mpumalanga.
No, thank you very much. I'll be very brief myself. I think one is that there are issues of long term around climate change, because it's not just an issue of drought. There are issues of El Nino, as we have spoken about. But however, if I can go direct to the issues around Mpumalanga, we budgeted an amount of about 33 million rand, which 80% of that amount is going to go through animal feed, and 20% will go to water management. And roughly we've received about 10,464 applications from different farmers who are needing assistance, and that program is being implemented as I speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC. Let me hand over to Minister Nkwinti, after which we'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just to say briefly, what Minister Zokwana has said is, I just want to add a few things there. Institutional issues. Now, remember when we met here last time, we all announced that we've made money available for drought relief. All of us, as the departments that were sitting here. Now, we then, at the time, also indicated that COCTA was a coordinating department for drought relief. That's where our disaster management center is located. Now, from our point of view as a department, we indicated here that we had made available 187 million rands for drought relief through the system. Now, that is why Minister Zogwana is saying we needed to improve our own coordination so that there's greater impact, so that you don't have a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. So last week we had a meeting to assess. We got a good report that was evaluating progress throughout the provinces. I think on the Eastern Cape at the time was still outstanding. So we got this report. Insofar as the report is concerned, one of the things that came out also is that the coordination should go beyond, and we're very thankful to the Minister for at least having initiated interaction with commercial farmers, was that we needed to bring together not just government departments, but also the private sector, which itself was doing sterling work insofar as this is concerned. So we then agreed, and remember that there was this transition also between Minister of COCTA and so on. So we then finalized that and sorted out the question of coordination. The Minister of COCTA is chairing the Disaster Management Center, is chairing this program, this response to drought. The Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Nkwinti, is one who, because she's been running this show for a while, so we said these ministers must take responsibility together with their DGs to coordinate the technical aspect of things. I thought this institutional aspect of the response to drought is important. So these two ministers, helped by all of us, especially Minister Zogwana, working very closely to these two ministers, are the ones who are responsible for that. So the question of coordination has been resolved. The question of technical support has been resolved. What we need to strengthen, all of us, as I said, each one of us I've got this 187 million rands. Ms. Nkwinti, I know she had earlier on 352 million rands, even at the very beginning, all these departments. So we are improving, and hopefully this again, this session, which when it goes out there, farmers themselves will know that there's support that government is giving to them, and then themselves, they will be proactively following up on the attempts that government is making. Because it's very important for farmers themselves too to take the initiative. Part of the challenge is that in some instances, I've learned from the MEC, for example, that in some instances in our department, although we have this collective effort at the national level, in some instances our own department would go and do this. So it doesn't have the kind of impact that is necessary. So we need to pull together our resources. We have had a nice discussion with the MEC here to correct those kinds of smaller things which impede effective operation of this kind of response to drought. So I think that we can do better. We've done a lot of good work right now, but we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We'll take questions now. Please introduce yourself, your media house, and your question. Let's take a round of 5. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, ministers and MECs. I'm Karen Labuskaghni here from Power FM. Just for clarity, in the statement it is mentioned that priority areas like outcomes 4, 7 and 10 will not be accomplished. If you can give us more details around what these priorities are. And then also we've been hearing a lot of controversy around certain parties claiming price fixing following the high increase that we have seen in maize. If you can just tell us whether the government is at all planning on capping food prices. Thank you.
Thank you. Fana Peters, ABC News. Minister, how is this program coordinated? I'm talking based on the fact that in our case study, in Moretele in particular, unfortunately the MEC from Moretele is not here. that the farmers there haven't received any form of assistance, although they read about it and they hear from us that there is this form of assistance. The NEPRO there says they haven't received anything. And the fact of the matter is that many of these farmers have lost bulls. Is the government doing anything to replace those bulls? All they say they have seen that is tangible is that 2 chiefs have been given heads of cattle, and those chiefs themselves are no farmers.
Thank you.
Good day, Minister. It's Gerard Oos from Farmers Weekly magazine. I just want to find out if there's a timeline on the starting to grow fodder banks or grow grazing, because if it doesn't start before this coming November, it won't grow if it doesn't start within the next month. Thank you.
Excuse me. Good day, everyone. My name is Johnny Sai. I'm with African News Agency. Just 2 questions, please. First is for clarity. This 32 million, is it from the IDC only? This for Minister Sokwana. Is it from the IDC or is from the other organizations listed there? Then secondly, will SA be importing maize, and from where, please? Because the region is also affected with this drought. So are there any plans as yet of importing, especially this type of food? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hand over to Minister.
Thanks. Let me start with the last question from John. Sorry. The 32 million rands is from IDC. That is made available for loans for commercial farmers. Then will maize be imported? Yes, in the last meeting we confirmed that the country will import between 5 and 6 million tons of white and yellow maize. The issue of grazing that has been raised, yes, we are concerned as well. We know very well that if the rains that we receive now won't be enough, it may have an impact to come winter month. Hence, we speak of the building of capacity in terms of growing feed crops, so that by the time that time comes, we have created fodder banks in districts so that we can be able to assist. The issue of chiefs, unfortunately, I cannot be able to confirm to that question as a news, because unfortunately we don't have that. But on the issue of Moratele, the best we can do is to follow up, because all provinces were made aware of the fact that we need to ensure that we intervene in time. And they can only sympathize with those farmers if they have lost their livestock. We'll follow up. By the way, we have drawn a program that will be followed to make sure that we do road shows. Maybe the best I can confirm is that even if we didn't plan, the area you are mentioning would be the first to visit, to go and see what is happening. And because if bulls are dying, obviously it will take time for those people to grow their stocks. And of course, when we have verified what has happened, what should be done, we'll look at that together with the province. We have mentioned that ordinarily we have agreed that coordination will be done around Kokta, and that is the Minister of Kokta, assisted by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, will be dealing with that to ensure that all that we do as government is coordinated. All the funds available are put together so that they make a greater meaning than the minuscule that this department can do and that can do. And I think that from this meeting, we will re-emphasize the fact that DDGs should be meeting so that programs are made, and then people are made aware of where to get feed and how.
The priorities, just deal with it.
All right, the issue of price fixing. You know, we have created a capacity in the department through one of our entity, NAMAC, so that we're able to make sure that we do price monitoring. so as to avoid where people believe that because there's this situation, they can be able to make money. The areas we refer to are that we are supposed to grow the economy through agricultural production and make sure that jobs are created. And because of the current situation we may not be able to meet those tangible goals we have set ourselves to achieve. And that may have an impact in farmers keeping the employees in employ if these are challenges we're faced with. And those are things we believe when funding is made available by Treasury, as per the disaster grant applications we have made, we may be able to keep those employees employed and see whether there can be coordination of assistance, because even food is one of the areas we need to look at. So we hope that when we have done this work of coordinating this work, working together as all the ministries, and when the Minister of Finance have announced the budget, and with all the funding available, we'll broaden the program. But I agree, coordination is very key. What it means, therefore, that our plans to put into production so many hectares, thus creating jobs and sustaining livelihoods, our ability to make sure that people are employed as well as accessing food will be impacted, as this drought has not only affected crop production, but broadly as well as livestock. So it is broader because with water scarcity, we have to spread the resources we're having. But the reason we're planning is to ensure, therefore, that we are able to dent the impact, but working with our stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. This question of curbing, I thought that's a question of curbing, possibly curbing food prices. Yes. Let's also remember that this is a free market economy. Part of what happens when this happens is to balance supply and demand. Yes, even if government were to intervene, government would intervene on a matter. It's very complex, because if you say the price increases, how are you going to control the exhaustion of the current supplies against such a huge demand? It's a basic economic question. So we have to also take into account those realities as we respond to this. I think there was a question that says we should respond in time. There are opportunities in the country. It's not every part of the country which has been hit by drought. If you follow what farmers are saying and economists are saying, you'll find that part of what's happening in the country, those areas where you don't have drought, and we too as government, particularly our two departments moving forward, is to actually do this, which the farmers are saying. The areas where there's no drought, and because we have got a very sophisticated weather services functioning capacity in the country, we should use that capacity in such a way that it assists us to plan ahead, and therefore knowing that there are areas which are prone to drought and those areas which are not. And there's those areas which are not so much prone to drought. We grow, and in other words, we use those for the eventuality when there is drought. I'll tell you why these things happen. In the Western region and the Eastern Cape, there hasn't been drought. In fact, throughout the winter there was rain. There were rains throughout the winter. There still rains in the western part. So in terms of forward planning, which is what we were saying in the last meeting, we must plan from now moving forward, knowing that this thing will happen. And therefore those areas which are not prone to drought should be used for that eventuality. And one of the things that's coming out here is just saying, these areas, these farmers who are in these areas where there's no drought, they're making money. Because they're selling lucerne, they're selling they're selling a feed to farmers where there's drought. In some instances, you would have read that you wouldn't get phosphate, looking for feed for cows, for cattle rather. You wouldn't get it because it's been sold to areas where there's drought. So this is something that is managing the supply and demand challenges that we have in the country. So this question of capping food prices could be a bit of a complex one. Muritele. Yeah, we have programs, both agriculture and ourselves. Provinces here, sitting here, they could answer this question actually, except that the MEC is not here from Northwest. But we have programs where we supply bulls to farmers. So this is the answer is yes. If these farmers have lost bulls, and then in the process of recovering, this should be easy to do, provided that we get to know who actually has lost bulls, and therefore the provinces are going to be key to that kind of decision. I don't have a brief about these chiefs in Northwest, but I know that these are communal land. These chiefs are operating on communal land, and therefore they are communal farmers. And I know one of them, for example, is Chief Muyilwa, the one who recently passed away. We buried him on Saturday. I got to know about this. I know that he is a very enthusiastic communal farmer in that sense. So it doesn't mean that because somebody doesn't have a farmer in a commercial sense, and they're actually farming in communal areas, they can't get. So I think the provincial government, I don't know the detail of it, but I know there were two of these chiefs. One of them is this one. Maybe, Press, you didn't respond to this question of 32 million rands, IDC, what have you, etc. You did that. So I think we're pretty fine and done with it.
Thank you, ministers. Let's cross over to Cape Town now to take questions from there.
Thank you, Chair. Over to you, Paul.
Good afternoon, Ministers. Paul Vecchiotti from Bloomberg. Kwana, just confirm, are you staying with the 6 to 7 million tons estimate? And do you think, or when would you release a revised estimate on that?
Cape Town?
And can you hear me?
We don't have a sound there.
Hello? Come again?
They don't have sound.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Pretoria?
Hello?
Really? Oh.
Oh, Pretoria?
Okay, I think while we wait for that, if there's, let's just do the, yeah, you can shoot.
Afternoon, my name is
We can hear you, Pretoria.
They're still speaking to us. Cape Town, you saw. Marijke Vermaat from Jacaranda FM. Just a few questions. As we're looking at the whole SADC region, there's a fair amount of drought going along everywhere. If you look at places like Malawi and Lesotho within our borders itself, is there some coordination within the region to try and assist us, other countries? Also, desalination. I know we have, I think, one or so plants. One is in Mossel Bay, and so why is this not something that we make more use of? I don't know if there's some technicalities involved that means we can't on a large scale make use of that, but some information on that, please. And then also, if we have 5 out of the 9 provinces that we've declared are effectively an emergency because of the condition of the drought, why is it, I think the question was asked the last time we had a presser here, at what stage do we go, this is now a national emergency, so that more funds are released, or the legality around that? And then also, what do people do? I mean, it's easy now to say people must, make do with less water or whatever, but you can see people's frustration taking part with NGOs, collecting water, collecting feed. What do people do? What's your message to people to try and assist here? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Hajra Omarji from Power FM. How do we get to a situation where 5,000 cattle, or over 5,000 cattle in some provinces die before we intervene? And yet, if we look at the numbers in terms of where fodder is being supplied to, it's still quite low. How do we ensure, did we not know 5,000 cattle in some provinces were going to die? And how do we ensure that no more die? Also, in regard to jobs, can we get some idea of how many jobs are created in the affected areas and sectors and farms, and if there have been measurable job losses thus far? And I also don't understand why we're saying government subsidies may be tied to employment. Surely it's they will be tied or they won't be tied, because if we miss that opportunity, it's going to create a huge problem.
Daniela from eNCA. I was at an event yesterday where the agricultural union TAU SA said that they felt that commercial farmers did not get enough help. They felt it was mostly subsistence farmers, and whilst the commercial farmers are the ones actually feeding the nation, they felt they were not being prioritized. Just comment on that.
Ministers and MECs, Karen again from Power FM. I realize this is an update on the drought situation, but the impact of the food increases, it's a national issue at the end of the day. Were there any discussions on how to possibly mitigate the knock-on effect on basically South Africans on their pockets, and also economists saying the poor will have a really, really tough time to get through the next year?
I'm sure Minister will deal with the SADC thing, but I do know indeed that SADC has got that. But in our discussions so far, we haven't really dealt with this question of coordination with SADC on the SADC region. That's not come through. It's nice that it's been asked now. When we meet, maybe probably we'll look at that. Desalination, yes, that's it. The broader scheme of things. Is that right now? Sorry about that. So the desalination, I was saying that the Minister of Water and Sanitation has already given notice to government that this is the route we're going. We've got lots of seawater around us here, and we support that. In terms of drought or national emergency declaration, you know, you earlier on I was saying that except for Eastern Cape, there was a report. The report that was given was a comprehensive report, but that report still, even in the 5 provinces, not every part of those provinces, you know, have been hit by drought. KZN was the severest, perhaps hit by drought, etc. Now, to suggest that we declare a national emergency, you know, and so on, I think there would need to be a lot more work done on that. I'm sure provinces in particular, because they are the ones who sort of press the button most of the time. Maybe they will have to. The Minister of Agriculture may comment on that. But as far as I know, there hasn't been an intention declared that we would do that. And on the 5,000 cattle, MEC, you may want to respond to this. I don't want to throw bones. The subsidy is tied to employment. You know, disasters sometimes provide you, they provide you with opportunities to improve what you're doing. Disasters. I am on record as having said that, and I say it again. We tried to persuade communal farmers to move to state land which we had purchased, to move their livestock there to free the communal land space, because land there is overrun, it's lost value. And we introduced the program called Animal and Field Management Program. that program is meant to deal with this question of when there's drought, land would have been, or the field would have been looked after, etc., cared for. And we've got a program that then looks at rehabilitation of the soil, etc. It's meant to deal with occasions like this. So, when this drought struck us, one of the things I said, you know, this for us is an opportunity to persuade communal farmers, to say to them, look at what's happening. You're losing. And I can tell you, these 5,000 animals that we're talking about here, they probably are mainly in the communal areas, not in the commercial areas. But people are very skeptical. We found that people are skeptical. They think. Remember, there's this whole history of removal, forced removal. We're depending on persuasion. This drought has created an opportunity for that program. We're hoping that from now moving forward, that all of us, including the owners of this livestock, will see this as an opportunity to move from the communal land to the areas where we have state land. And that, therefore, to tie this to employment and even improvement of the quality of the communal land space, etc. If you went to KwaZulu-Natal, and there are others as well, but I like to use this because it's an area which Msinga is very, very popular for hardship. If you went there in some of the areas there, this is exactly what we've done. And I'm sure if you were to go there a couple of years later, the way things are going, rehabilitating the soil, including filling up the gullies and all of that, training people in understanding that, they will then begin themselves in future to actually do this thing. Not just because it's a job thing, but because it's something that needs to be done in order to prevent calamities of this nature in the future. And of course, press will deal with us, this question of Tau and commercial, because earlier on I did comment that, I commended him for having taken the step to meet with commercial farmers, because at our last meeting, this came through, to say white commercial farmers in particular were saying exactly this. It's not the first time it came to us. And then the minister took responsibility for just starting to engage with farmers. The impact on food, I'll leave that with you.
Thanks. We unfortunate that we have not met with Dow in the processes, but we've invited almost all commercial organizations, including AFASA. It was only yesterday that I did have a discussion also with the CEO of AfriForum to deal with these permutations, believing that there is segregation, there is people are being disregarded. To create a thing that said we're dealing with people who are mostly exposed because of only grazing in communal areas where there's no water that is designed for particular, and when that water is finished, there are no other alternatives. Commercial farmers understand very well what the program is. We met with them only last week. Our last meeting was on Friday. And I believe, therefore, that we'll meet with Dow so as to understand their understanding. If you have taken note of the report from some of the provinces, like Free State, they have gone beyond assistance. And I think that assistance to who will be informed by the magnitude of the trouble that they are facing with. In areas where you have got more than former homelands brought together, like in Limpopo, Eastern Cape, you will find that the burden is too huge of dealing with such problems. And we have met with commercial farmers, and their view is not that they say, we want money in cash. What they were saying that there are many other instruments that government can come up with, like where government will stand surety in some of the extensions of their own indebtedness. So the debate is going on, and when we left on Friday, we believe that future meetings will be held because it is through that coordination. And maybe I will make sure that a special invitation is made to Dow because we have met with them as a department. That they're not part of the meeting, I mean, I cannot answer as to why they're not part of that meeting going forward. But there is no reason to discriminate against anybody if funds allow. As I said, that the areas where they were declared disaster areas, once the Ministry of Finance announces what the allocation is, we'll extend and make sure that everybody, because the Commission Farmers was not only speaking about what they are facing now, is to prepare so they are ready in the planting season going forward. On the issue of food increases and what mitigation is to be done, the debate is ongoing. As I said, our last meeting was last week on Monday as the interministerial committee meeting, looking at all these things so that we look at what will be done, even looking at assisting farmers who could not plant anything, to say, how do we make sure that they keep their employees within their farms? What assistance will they need? As a country, we have gone through crisis, be it in mining, it's not the first time that we have got this crisis, but lucky now that we have got an understanding with the commercial farmers that we can talk and share ideas. And we know very well that this is going to be a tougher one. On the issue of coordination of SADC, the only thing we know was that more than the 5 to 6 million tons they're going to be importing. They will import more to take stock of those commitments they made with some of the SADC countries. And I'm sure that committee then, when they meet again, they will give us figures as to, in reality, how much. But of course, I agree with Minister Nkwinti that in our own meetings, we need to look at the issue of SADC going forward as to how do we make sure that we have an assist going forward. We know very well that there are other coordinating agencies that do coordinate when there are crises of this nature.
Thank you, Minister. I think let's take the last round from Cape Town and then we can conclude. Thank you. Cape Town.
Hi, Womagas, can you hear us now?
Yes, perfect.
Go ahead, Paul.
Good afternoon, Ministers. Paul Vecchiota from Bloomberg. Minister Zokwana, can you just confirm that your maize import estimate of 5 to 6 million tons is unchanged from last week? And when do you think that figure will be revised? And then secondly, last week, AgriForum SA asked for credit and interest rate subsidies from government. How far are you on discussions with that, and when will they be concluded? Thank you. A decision be made, I mean.
Jolene?
Jolene van Wyk, Landbouw Weekblad. Minister, I know this question was asked, but really now this, with the food prices, there's already estimates how high it will skyrocket, like your grains that will increase up to 18%, with food price inflation, and your veggies that will probably go up to with 40%. Is there any will from government to cushion the consumer during these tough times? And then also, Minister, the last time we spoke a lot about the boreholes, and I've established in the meantime that the Northwest, that they are very well, very good actually in sinking boreholes. What's hampering the other provinces in sinking boreholes?
Thanks. Back to you, Pretoria.
Minister.
Sorry, thanks for those questions from Bloomberg. Remember, we have not yet received any change. While we appreciated the fact that we have been receiving some rains, a point we made last time is to say we have not yet been able to quantify that we will need less than what was projected last time. But there is a national coordinating committee, including our department, that is looking around those things. And I believe that as soon as there are any changes due to the recent rains, that we may be able to increase our yield from dry agriculture, we will make you aware of those things. And the request by Grain South Africa, by Agri SA, on some of these are issues that need to be dealt with between Agri-SA and the Department of Treasury. As a department, we'll of course engage as well, because it will have to be an agreement between them and Treasury, because those are financial issues. But of course, we'll put a word on their behalf, as we said last time. And I'm sure very soon we'll be dealing with those matters. And on the issue of projected or possibly food increases as raised from Cape Town as well, as we have said, is that those issues are informed by the availability of commodities. But as a government, what we'll do is to make sure that we monitor if those increases really reflect what is supposed to be happening. And of course, as a government, we'll have to make sure that those people who are suffering or who are poverty-stricken, the assistance we have given before, I'm sure we'll be debating among those things as how do we deal with those social issues. And again, let me release to say that when we met last time, the amount of rain we have received was not at the rate that we have received. And I believe that if we go back to other forms of production like hydroponics, we can be able to fast-track the production of agriculture. And those are issues that as these MSCs we have debated of saying, if we cannot produce maize because time to plant is over now, why don't you plant beans? Why don't you look at other commodities so that you can alleviate the situation to the extent we're exposed to? Boreholes, I'm sure the MSCs are around. I can't answer for them. Maybe each one must tell. Maybe the conditions are not the same as to why maybe in this province they've drilled 3 instead of 10.
I think probably we'll be actually moving out of the main frame. But generally, I think the issue of boreholes, and I think probably everybody will say the same, is not that we're drilling boreholes because there is drought. It's a continuous program in the provinces. That will be my.
Yes, I agree. I nearly asked a question myself. You know, it's difficult to measure the statement that one province is good at doing boreholes than the other, because we use the same companies basically. Like for instance, in KZN, I think there's about 4 to 5 companies that do this thing, and they drill boreholes throughout the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, unless you have been to one in another province and see how they do it, it's difficult to make a comparison, so to speak. But what we want to see is water coming out of the exercise, you know. And I must say, in our province, what we saw happening as drought deepens is that some of the boreholes started to dry up, you know, dams drying up, and which then, you know, calls for now, you know, a different approach to it. Some people are even saying probably you need to sink it much further than where we have been taking it to. And I think we've been taking it to 60 meters. Others are saying we must bring it down to 300 meters. That's one part. And in some cases, you know, there was a time when we thought we would be in a position to move you know, money that was earmarked for planting crops on dry land to land that could be put under irrigation. Even there, because rivers were drying up, you know, we saw rivers that never ran out of water, but today there's not a single drop. Even in those areas, the irrigation system that we put, we saw water dropping below the irrigation system, leaving the irrigation to hang on I mean, in space. So that's how terrible the situation has actually become. That you can't run now to irrigatable land under irrigation, because even there you are experiencing the problem. I think the minister is right that in areas where we still have rain and we still can plant, probably those are the areas now we need to begin to intensify our efforts in order to build food security for the entire province. Thank you so much.
There's this question that was raised about why don't we declare this a national disaster, which Minister Nkwinti answered. I want to raise this today. The MEC of Western Cape, Mr. Hindle, said that in the province of Western Cape, they have declared about 3 to 5 municipalities because others are not under stress, which is the point that Minister Nkwinti raised, which is true that you cannot declare a disaster nationally unless it is based on science, and unless you are guided by the act that you should make sure that municipalities declares and processes are followed, assessments are made. Yes, this disaster is huge, but it is not going to be right to say everywhere there can be no, I mean, the situation is not the same. So I think this debate that has been given today, we believe that declaring Western Cape as another disaster would not be proper because it should not be based on facts.
Minister, I have a question. My name is Denzel Taylor from Power FM, and I'm intrigued by one particular point here where you say, from the meeting we now have a clear picture of the negative impact of drought on crop and production and livestock and stuff like that. And we've just heard that this drought is huge and it's been with us for some time. But in the conversations with the MECs and everybody, we've heard of the sheep and the cattle and the dams being built and stuff like that. But is there, in a short 3 minutes, 5 minutes, a very high level conversation that if you understand it, what is the impact of the money that you will throw at the dam? What is the impact on the economy? Where do you see it impacting on the economy? How many people will be relocated, for example, as you speak of relocation? What is the estimate of all of this that you talk about? What is the estimate? Where do you see the financial burden ending even? And where do you actually even see the problem ending? So is there a high level, as you have had conversations about 5,000 sheep dying and so many other cattle and so many dams built and boreholes, do you in your head have a high level perspective of the enormity of this drought?
Thanks. Our debate was not only limited to looking at the impact of the drought alone. It was looking at that, but also looking at what has been done by the department to alleviate the situation. Of the cattle we spoke of that were hardly hit by drought, through the impact we have been able to make the situation better through making sure that fodder is made available. But we have gone beyond that to look at what can be other measures that we can take to make sure that in future, if the same scenario comes, that is broader. It may be about finding new cultivars that can be used to withstand drought. And those have been, and already our Department of Agricultural Research Council has been doing work in conjunction with other institutions to find those answers for us going forward. We have looked at the issue of the dam levels so as to inform whether irrigation can be sustained going forward. And we have taken into account the report we have got from the Department of, from South African Weather Services, at what the projections of rainfalls have been, even taking into account what we have received. We have, and in all that, we're trying to make sure that we are not only looking at the drought as an end in itself, but saying that El Nino will be with us for some time to come. as long as the impact of climate change is on us. But how smarter will we be in the next time it comes? And that has meant that we need, therefore, to expand our interaction so that we don't just fold up and say, there's rain next year, so we don't have to panic. We must be found far better next time than we've been now. That's why we speak of changing to conservation agriculture, which includes, among others, being smart in the way you till your soil, using new technologies that not disturb the soil. Even if there may be floods next year, you will prevent the impact on soil erosion. How to reduce emissions and all those things. How to cut the cost of farming. And what instruments do you use to make sure that we improve the organic nature of our soil, for the fact that we need to be able to retain water, because sometimes when your soil is bad, you lose water as it rains. But beyond that, we need to look at other measures like promoting crop rotation. For some of the crops like beans and other legumes have a capacity of retaining high nitrogen into your soil, improving its capacity and deal with pests. We have gone beyond to look at what the impact of this drought will be on new diseases coming up because of the nature we are in. How do we deal with our bees, because they are very instrumental in the process of pollination that we have got to have this drought. If we were to give you the list of things we debated, I think you'll be here until you are tired. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mrs. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you for that question. I'm sorry that I didn't answer it. But I think the call we have made to say that let's use water sparingly. Let us make sure that in most areas, and I would say that maybe we'll be engaging the Ministry of Human Settlement, Bragooks, that for each and every new house project, it must be linked to the supply of JoJo tanks so that we can be able to harvest as much rainwater as possible. Because JoJo tanks also add to the issue of controlling the environment as less water is used from underground sources. We need to use even our rainwater for things like irrigation of our crops. We need to encourage people doing washing early in the morning, but not washing alone, but also making sure that we don't use water during hotter conditions to irrigate. Irrigate rather early in the morning or in the evening. We must not say that because of this few rain we have received, the problem is over. It's not over. And I believe we'll win through the media passing this information and people participating, and we'll continue engaging going forward.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, ministers. No, we just built a village, an eco village, for farm workers.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Nungosi, farmer. Kokelele kaloku le nto manje yale bloko uyigqibezele sisiyapointile ngoku. Kayilawule laa nto manje. Yeah. Ngoba andithi sithe, hey Haji. Compliments.
How are you?
And did he?
Minister?
He's living just just to make sure, but it's the same place, Mrs. Change. Yeah, same place, and I've instructed my team, they've appointed us. So we just take charge.
We're together.
Compliments, eh?
Surely there has to be a discussion on the vulnerable.
Yes.
And food stamps or increased grants, like a few weeks out before the budget. Is that discussion happening?
No, not in the manner.